So welcome to 13 Minutes, Why Every Man Needs a Why. I am excited to be back in action, back by popular demand, our number one all-time requested guest, co-host, Dr. Daniel A. Don't forget the A, Franz. What's up, my brother?
Man, it is so good to be back with you. I'm excited for this venture you have going on. Men need it. I'm excited to share my perspective on it and whatever direction you lead the conversation. It's just wonderful to see that beautiful bald head of yours again.
Well, anybody who's just tuning in for the first time to me and Dr. Dan, we have had variations, permutations of this called the Dr. Dan and Rabbi B show, called Men's Search for Meaning, called Two Good-Looking Bald Dudes and a Bottle of Beer. I don't know. We never actually went that route, but we should have.
The Viktor Frankl Meaning Academy back in the day.
So we've been doing this for quite some time, and I would say in this lifetime, if I have a Viktor Frankl brother from another mother, it is Dr. Dan. We share all things Dr. Dan. We share all things Dr. Viktor Frankl and beyond. That's our sort of jumping off point, our launch point. So there are a lot of directions and different ways we could take this on, but I think for today, since it is the 13 Minutes Why Every Man Needs a Why podcast, thought we would dig into you, Dr. Dan, who you are, what you stand for, why you here, what's your why. Now, before you answer that question, it's tough, it's big, it's a process, right? Instead of just standing on one foot saying this is my why, I thought maybe we'd take it a different direction today. And we would go not Dr. Frankl's route, although that would be an interesting one. He would ask his patients on their first visit, why haven't you committed suicide? Why haven't you killed yourself? That's pretty hard, harsh, and intense, and I know you're not afraid of it. However, I'm really focused right now on my forthcoming book and the central topic, The Guy in the Glass, and this beautiful poem by Dale Wimbrough, written in 1934, all about going to the mirror, looking at yourself, and seeing who that man is, what his reflection says back to you. I'm not going to read the poem right now. People can click to it. I'm sure we have a link below. I usually do. But Dan, you're familiar with the poem, right?
Absolutely. Love it. I'm actually familiar with the book. Thank you for the honor of proofreading it. And it's a glorious poem and a much needed book. I'm excited for its release.
And even better is the foreword, man, about this dude named Dr. Dan. So
I wasn't going to pat my own back, but I'll let you do it for me. Thank you for the honor of writing the foreword as well.
Well, I would love to. We never really talked about it, so I'd love to get your take on this poem. Again, for our listeners, go check out the poem, read it. It takes about all of 15 seconds to read. But Dr. D, take it away. What is your initial reaction to this poem?
Well, having you bring it up reminds me of a moment just ironically last night. And I was with an old friend, somebody who I actually started in the psychology business 30 years ago. Over, my goodness, 35 years ago. I don't even want to think about that. We were young 20-something pups in our first jobs helping people, right? So we worked at an adolescent treatment center behind a great big 12-foot fence because we were larger men, and so we worked with the more difficult young people. And we were reminiscing and working on a new business opportunity, and said, you know what, we were at a local restaurant, so I'm going to use the restroom real quick. We had been talking about this for a good 15, 20 minutes. And I went, did what I needed to do, and I went to go wash my hands, and I looked at the mirror, and I said, oh my God, who is that man? Because I was reminiscing about a much more hair-endowed gentleman 35 years ago and working at that. And I was remembering those days. And then I looked in the mirror and thought, oh my God, who is that old man? And I realized it's me. And, I think it's good to have those momentary reflections. Who am I now? Who am I today? Who was I 35 years ago when I first started in the biz? And that poem and that book is a call to do that and to make sure you can answer that question. Who is that guy? Why is he staring back at me without any hair? And why is he so gray in the beard where you've got this nice salt and pepper going on?
Well, I think it's an important moment. Every man should have it. I give this to my coaching clients and I tell them to go to the mirror, do this like a mirror work, stare at yourself, right? Not just, the grooming stare, the passing stare, but the deep soul stare, the eyes are the window to the soul kind of thing. A lot of guys can't do it or they won't do it. Have you ever had that experience?
Personally, there's one time where I was a bad dad. And this is in the stress of COVID and life and kids in high school and things like that. And, I still wear that sometimes, just making a parenting mistake. And there was a while. And, my daughter and I weren't on good terms for a while after that. And I had a hard time. And for me, as our good friend Dr. Frankel tells us, that guilt, that inability to look in the mirror reminded me, man, you've got some work to do. When I couldn't look myself in the eye and be like, all right, things are going okay, I had to do some work and I had to own up to my mistakes and I had to talk to my daughter and I had to repair what had happened.
And for our listeners, I mean, you do this professionally. You're a therapist. You work with people all day, every day to go to the proverbial mirror, maybe not literally, but in many ways, I believe that's what the role of a therapist, is to be a mirror for a person, to mirror back a place for them to look at the truth, right? The hard truth sometimes, nothing but the truth in a world that won't always tell you the truth. And in a world where we don't always tell ourselves the truth. And so I just think it's important for our listeners to hear that even a therapist, right, has a hard time looking at himself in the mirror when he doesn't like what he sees staring back.
Absolutely. But again, I think we all have moments of that. Therapists, ministers, rabbis, people that we elevate to status in society, we're human too. We struggle. I struggle. I struggle individually. I struggle in my marriage. I struggle. And when I can't look myself in the mirror, it is motivation, I guess. It is a calling to get things figured out, to turn things around, to make the amends where I need to make the change where I need to. And, quite honestly, I feel bad for those people that can't look in the mirror. And, I do feel a little blessed that I get to do that work on a daily basis of helping them to be the mirror for a little while and to reflect what I see, but then to help them do that for themselves and get them to a place of being able to look in the mirror, to be able to recognize who they are and what they bring to the world and what they need to continue to bring.
Awesome. Now can I call bullshit?
Yeah, bring it, man. I love when you do this to me.
Because
and I do mean that. I am honored when you call bullshit on me because I need that humility every once in a while too. So bring it.
Yeah, we both do. And that's why we're in each other's lives. So we started men's peer groups together about a year ago. And, you started off and then you got to, I don't want to share anything out of turn, but I don't think I am, right?
Bring it.
You got to this point where you're like, you weren't sure it was for you, right? And I call that, in my old world, the clergy moment. I call it the therapist moment. I call it the moment where maybe we take on these roles because it's easier to hide in plain sight, to be the sage on the stage, to be the healer that doesn't need healing, right? So talk to me about that moment.
Man, that smirk you got, you are killing me, man. You got me, right? And that's what I love about you, brother. And that's what I love about the work we do is I need that mirror. You are that mirror. You have been that mirror to me often. And you were that mirror last year. Yeah. I went into those peer groups as Dr. Dan. I think the first time we met, I remember saying that. Like somehow my screen still said either Dr. Dan or Dr. Daniel A. Franz, whatever it was. And I changed that really quick. I changed the name on the screen, but I didn't change how I was operating. And, I was Dr. Dan for the first couple meetings. I'm trying to give guidance and, I got it all figured out. And I needed to be there for me. And I wasn't. So those first couple months, and then finally I'm like, man, B, I just don't know. I'll give it a couple more months. And once again, you called bullshit on me. And you said, let's see, invulnerable prick? Something like that. I don't know if the prick's in your lexicon, but yeah, you called me out, man. And you showed me the mirror. You're like, quit being invulnerable. And ironically, you were the first of a few people, unexpectedly in my life, right, that used that word invulnerable. And for our peer group, I finally said, okay, I respect you. I'll honor that. And it's still hard, man. Like you said, I think when we fulfill these roles daily, it's hard to put down the mask. I know I'm doing it right now, right? I'm still being. You changed my title, you jackass. Thank you. It's hard, and I think no matter what line of work we're in, it's man, most of us have a hard time putting it down when we come home or in real life.
Yeah, I see this a lot, in particular with men. I think it's a uniquely male issue, not exclusively, but certainly primarily. And that is, and this is in my book, chapter 2, you go to a bar. The first question is, what's your name? The second question is, what do you do? And my wife answers it in a myriad of ways, naturally, organically. I can now do it, but it's not natural or organic. My initial response is, I am a guide. I am a coach. I am a counselor. I'm a therapist. I'm a rabbi. I'm a blah, 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 blah. And I just go to profession. That's who I am, right? Until I read my book, right? Buy my book. Until you do this inner work, until you have a friend who sits across from you and says, bullshit. That is part of what you do, but that is not what you do. Does that resonate?
Oh, totally. Right. It does, but I still find it hard, right? I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm a golfer. I'm a bicyclist. I'm a writer, an author, a helper. It's too often when people ask you, hey, how you doing? They don't want to hear it. They just want to hear fine. And I feel like some days when you're sitting across from somebody, unless somebody as close as I get to be with you, we're too busy to dive deep. And so we take this attitude of like, oh, well, yeah, I'm a therapist. I'm a psychologist. Like, I don't even want to say, well, I go about helping people in a myriad of ways on a daily basis. Like, people just want that one word answer. And so maybe that's a message. Like, if you're going to ask somebody what they do or how they're doing, be prepared, be prepared to take a few minutes. If you're going to open yourself up to that question, I know it's funny in the therapist world, we joke about it all the time in the hallway among the other therapists I work with. How you doing? Like, I don't know. You want me to take time to think about it right now? I'm in between sessions, man. You want me to tell you how I'm doing? Let's sit down and figure it out. We don't give ourselves time to do that.
Yeah, and I think maybe part of the work we're doing, I know the work that I'm doing is Viktor Frankl talks about circumstances, right? Not being the determinant of who I am, of what I stand for, of why I'm here. We always have the power to choose our response to our circumstances. So if somebody says to you, how you doing? My initial reaction might be, well, the circumstances are, he's passing me in the hall. Does he really want, versus the truth, which is, here we go. You asked, can you handle it? Not my problem, your problem. And I know that's pretty raw and radical, but I just think we got to, in the second half of life, we got to start challenging some of these assumptions that I need them to be ready for the answer that they asked me for.
Yeah. And I love, first of all, that idea of second half of life, the second part of life. Like, it is an opportunity to make some changes, to be radical, to do things differently, and to have an impact on those around you. And so, like I said, I'm blessed to be able to do that every day. When my clients come into the office, like, well, how you doing? I'm like, okay, you asked, and I want to teach you something. If you're going to ask me how I'm doing, we're going to take a couple minutes to talk about me, and then we're going to take the next 55 minutes and talk about you. And I've tried to do that in my personal life as well. I talk to people all day. I listen to people all day long. I try not to talk too much. But when I have the opportunity to speak, to spend time with my wife or my girls or good friends, it really is it's beautiful. It's meaningful. It's that flow of a good conversation.
Yeah, it is. And also in the second half of life, giving yourself permission for just new ways to be in the world. So, hey, you asked the question, here's the truth. Or the flip side is, as your friend, I don't want to hear you're fine. Save your bullshit fine for somebody else. What's the truth? Right? Inviting the person across from you to be real, to be raw, to be honest. That's pretty radical.
That's the beauty of men's peer groups, dude. Like, seriously. Personally, and the rest of the gentlemen, when they listen to this, might be astounded. Like, I do not look forward to our groups. I look at my calendar, I'm like, God dang, man, 4 hours. And usually I sit right here at different places. I'm like, God, 4 hours. I'm going to spend 4 hours in this chair having some coffee or tea or water, hanging out with these dudes, talking. And then, dude, we get into it, and it's amazing. But I think that's the thing I know for me, I don't want to go do that. I don't want to go be vulnerable for 4 hours. Are you crazy? But then we do it, and it's amazing. And
Well, we
at
have
the end
these
of
one
4
word.
hours,
We have
nobody
these.
wants to stop.
Yeah, we have this one word check-in at the beginning, and it's usually, how you doing? I'm tired, I'm scattered, I'm overwhelmed, I'm whatever. And almost invariably, the final checkout word is, I'm energized, I'm grounded, I'm inspired, right?
Yeah. It's almost always all of us, just some kind of positivity at the end.
And so inside that peer group, there's a few other things that we're talking about, but there's names for it. And one of them is clearing, right? We clear, right? Where you say hard things and hear hard things. You don't accept the I'm fines. You don't give the I'm fines. I'm fine. You didn't call me back and I left you 2 voicemails. I'm not fine. You know what? I feel disrespected and I feel hurt, and I don't expect you to defend it. I don't want to hear your excuses. I don't need them. I just need you to hear that, and I need to say it. And now I'm done with it. Like, let's move on. That's a clearing, and we don't have many spaces for that in our lives.
That's so true. And it's so unfortunate, man. Like, that is such a great exercise, saying what needs to be said, being heard, but not being challenged with excuses, right? You didn't call me back, man. That hurt my feelings. Okay. Take ownership and move on, rather than, man, I got so busy and I had so much going on, blah, blah. Okay. Just recognize, what you did impacted me. I care about you. You didn't call me back. That hurt. And we move on.
Yeah. Or being late or missing. It's like, I don't want to hear your excuse. Your dog ate your homework. Just pay your fine. That is like, you're owning it. You're taking, Victor Frankl, you're taking responsibility, and you don't have to apologize now. And I don't need to hear the reasons why. And we have clarity about and respect of each other's boundaries. And I think it's so missing in our lives, especially as men, but in the second half of life, like, let's rethink the rules here.
Yeah. I love that radical accountability in our group. And it's so, I don't know, it's funny. It's funny when we miss it, right? Because we need it. We know we do. And we apply it to each other. But there are times when, somebody wants to come in and rescue or make excuses, or like, maybe we shouldn't have fines. Let's hear 30 minutes of excuses and rationalizations. And then it's like, no, that happens so often in other places in life. We don't need to do that here. If you can't be there, if you got to leave early, pay up, move on.
Yeah, because also, like, if you think about it, you're late. Okay. You've already erased a boundary. You've already, disrespected to a certain degree some other people's, efforts to be there. And then now we have to go into you're telling us why. So you're actually crossing more. You're taking up more time. This is about you, not about us. If it's about us, then get back to the boundary as quickly as possible, as elegantly. And that's why we have the financial fine. It's just clarity of boundaries. So yeah, I think there's so many great things about men's peer group, and being in one with you. We could do that all day, but I want to go back to the guy in the glass.
Yeah.
Because that's what this is about. And I don't always get to interview my good friend, Just Dan. And let's go back to that mirror. Let's go back to that moment where you didn't like the guy you saw. Have you had other of those moments, maybe not literally, but figuratively, on Just Dan's journey?
I'm sure there have been times, yeah, the usual for many of us. after the holidays, like, ooh, boy, what is, I don't want to look at that part in the mirror, man. That's a little pudgy. What happened there? How many calories did you pack on there? And so make a change. There's, yeah, I'm sure there have. You want to press me? I can think of a few, but the post-holiday big just Dan, or the failing his kids, or failing his wife, being I think we've talked about that in peer groups, right? Many of us are struggling. We're in that phase of life where our wives are making changes, and there are times we don't know what the hell to do. And maybe that's there's a different look in the mirror of, I am so powerless right now. I can't make her happy. I can't fix or solve the problem. I can't listen and validate. And that helplessness, man, that does not rest well with me. I don't like looking at that. But I don't know. I keep going back to it. Maybe you need to challenge me on that. When I see that, when I don't like it, when I feel helpless, when I feel guilty, when I can't look myself in the eye in the mirror, it's a call to do something different.
So I've heard this said before, and I've challenged it. You're not supposed to look at yourself in the mirror when you're on plant medicine. Have you heard that sort of refrain?
Dude, I can't get my ass off the couch when I'm on plant medicine. I can't get to them. What are you talking about?
Or your phone or whatever. Have you heard people say that before?
I have not. No. I'm now, maybe I've heard people say it freaks them out, right? They're not a fan of it. Maybe they see something funky, but no, I've not heard that.
So I've been told by a couple sort of plant medicine guru types that you really shouldn't look at yourself in the mirror, almost like it's like, I don't know, like like you cast a spell or something. And so I said, well, now I have to do it.
So you.
So I
Don't
went.
tell me what not to do.
So I went on a camping trip by myself last summer, a while back, and took a bunch of psilocybin with me. And this was me sort of rounding out my book, getting it ready for final stages. And I thought, you know what? I need to actually do this in an altered state. And so I read the poem maybe 10 times, to the point where I have it memorized. I don't have that many things memorized. And I took the mirror with me, and it was just me, a pile of mushrooms, and the mirror. And it was fucking next level intense, overwhelming, humbling, terrifying, inspiring. I'm going to throw that down as a challenge to our listeners who, utilize plant medicine, or my friend Dr. Dan, who I know is an advocate. What is that? You going to join me on a mirror journey?
I'm down, man. You know me. It's an interesting point you make, because I actually had a great conversation with one of our brothers in the peer group, and he asked me, right, like, man, does everybody always have negative or difficult journeys? And I'm just like, bro, what? And because I'm on a beautiful run of truly beautiful. I mean, there have been difficulties in it, but man, I love the journeys I've been on in the past couple of years. So now you add this twist. Yeah, let's go. Now,
and even
I do have to speak really quickly, like those of you listening in Indiana, it is still illegal in Indiana, although we are advocating for places of decriminalization. So I'm going to have to come out to Colorado and hang out with you, and we'll just stare at each other, and well, we already did that once, so we can stare into a mirror and see what rolls.
Well, let's continue on this thing, because to me, plant medicine can be used the right time, the right place, right, where you don't get arrested, Dr. Dan, for the right reasons, blah, 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 blah. It can be a mirror. I find it to be the guy in the glass poem, right? When you get what you want for your struggle for self and the world makes you king for a day, go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that guy has to say. And when I do plant medicine, I really do feel like it takes me into the spirit of that poem.
Yeah, that's wow. Well said. The fact that you have it memorized and you rattled it off like that was truly beautiful. But I agree. I think plant medicine is an opportunity to go into yourself, right? To truly go deep. We think we can do that, in meditation, prayer, that gets you there. But there's something, oh boy, I almost said there's something magical because we talk about magic mushrooms, but no, there is something magical. There is something truly otherworldly, ineffable is the word we use in the research. It's indescribable how inside you can go, and it is in a way a mirror.
So I wanted to understand more about your journey with plant medicine, because you are a man, you're a serious guy, you're a licensed therapist, you're a learned man, you're buttoned up except for that ridiculous like cardigan.
I knew you'd love
You're you're not a recreational user kind of guy. Whether or not you do, that's fine. But I think that the world needs to hear from guys like you. Why plant medicine?
Excuse me. Let me add one more thing that is important here. Not only am I blah, blah, all the stuff you say, I'm a licensed clinical addictions counselor. My job is to help people stop abusing substances or break their addiction, right? And I believe wholeheartedly in plant medicine, in psilocybin, in DMT, in ayahuasca, and I've journeyed with some of them, right? Why? Because they work. I am certified to help people journey. I spent a year in intense study learning about these things, becoming a guide, training with them. I believe in them. They've been used for thousands and thousands of years. If we study the history of let's take psilocybin, right? Because that's one I truly believe in and I truly love. Thousands of years, right? I don't know who the first caveman was that was like, hey, why don't you try that mushroom? Let's see what's happened. Shit, wrong mushroom, man. You don't want to be but thousands of years ago, some caveman found this and realized, man, this is pretty cool. And it's got powerful after effects, right? So the journey is part of it. Going inward is part of it. Seeing your demons and your angels is part of it. Talking to God, as we say and joke, but I feel like I truly have, right? That's all part of it. But then the after effects, man. The neuroplasticity for days afterwards, your brain just craving, like going back to being 5 years old when you were a sponge and learning how to read. You can do that at 50 by just eating a plant and going through that process, and then your brain is craving knowledge for days afterwards. Why? Because as a therapist, I've seen how we've been poisoned. How we've been poisoned for 50, 60 years and why. And I've studied the history of how Prozac and Lexapro and Lamictal and lithium and all these things have come around. And I've also read the damn near criminal history of why we took away things like LSD and psilocybin. There's so many great books out there. I'm reading right now, Mind Control. How the CIA took LSD from the Swiss, brought it over here, and started experimenting on themselves and each other and making people crazy, jumping out of buildings, thinking we were going to control the minds of Russian spies during the Cold War. Man, we were a messed up society back then. And then, because it was being used poorly, I think it was Nixon, took it away. We stopped doing research. But then Lilly and Pfizer and Bayer come in and they're like, hey, we're going to make other things that impact your brain, that change the way you feel. And you have to take it every day. I just heard somebody say this yesterday. Their physician said, I'm going to start you on Prozac, but you're going to have to take it every day for the rest of your life. Why would you want to do that? Why? All you need is a mushroom journey every once in a while, and it can be life-changing. Meanwhile, most people report to me, you take Prozac or Paxil, and it doesn't make you feel better. It makes you feel numb, right? All of a sudden, you're not sad anymore. Sure as hell not happy either.
Yeah, are you worried still in this day and age, 2026, as we're recording this, that people are going to hear this and sort of demote your credibility, demote your seriousness as a clinician?
No, they might take away my license. But like, when you say demote, I don't know, like if you want to think lesser of me because of this, that's cool. Let's have a conversation. And if you still want to see, believe, I haven't seen anybody after we've had a conversation disagree too much, right? Usually the conversation,
Even in Indiana.
even in Indiana. Look, man, when I started studying this, I really thought I was some kind of lone cowboy out here in Farmville. And the more involved I got, the more people I'd met just down the road, literally in other parts of Indiana. I'm a member now of the long-standing Indiana Psychedelic Association, or Indiana Psychedelic Society. Didn't even know they existed. We are advocating for policy reform to decriminalize and then possibly legalize. This this used to be available 50, 60 years ago. And I believe it's more criminal to take it away from people and then tell them, well, go take these drugs that make you feel nothing, but that line the pockets of, big pharma and politicians.
So talk to me a little bit about, and first of all, it's very brave, for me to be taking people on plant medicine journeys and using it myself. It's like, I'm not a clinician. They can't strip anything from me that I haven't already given away. So it's not that brave. But I'm in Colorado on top of it. But there's a bravery and a courage that I deeply respect of a man who, is putting truth above the politics or above the titles or above the consequences, and really courageous. Thank you.
Thank you.
So let's go back to the guy in the glass as it relates to plant medicine, because I'm really enamored with this. I have people flying into Colorado and I'm taking them on plant medicine journeys with my good friend, Phil, who he's a plant medicine guide and guru. I don't know much about the plant, but I come from the spiritual / coaching side. And I have seen it become this opportunity to remove the barriers, remove the masks, and let them see for the first time. Talk to me a little bit about the experiences you've been on and what you've discovered of the guy in the glass.
Wow. So the last time I was with you in Colorado, in the beautiful fall aspen groves, what did I see? I saw the absurdity of my own worries and the silliness of chasing, right? And I was reminded that it's okay to just be. I was reminded, and I did have that conversation with God, however you see that, with the universe, with that which we don't know. And I was told, like, hey, man, this is all here for you. Enjoy it. Because you only got a limited time. So get in there. And, you've known me for a while, B. I've always taken a big bite out of life. But I was reminded to take a bigger bite, right? I was told, like stop worrying. Stop worrying about where you're going to live, what you're going to do, where you're going to be. Quit listening to B trying to drag you out to Colorado every other week.
Don't stop.
I know. Michelle and I are already talking about coming back. But to just be and enjoy, man. And to stop fretting, to stop the idea of anxiety, quit worrying so much. It was beautiful. And I don't know, as you were, going through your journey, the next boulder over, howling at life and yourself and getting what you needed, I felt bad for an instant, but I was just giggling, man. I was giggling at my own silliness, my own absurdity, my own worries, my own the other half of life as a young man where I was chasing all the time. I had some good chuckles.
I love it. That's so spot on for some of my journeys, but there's never one that's the same, right? They're always different. I always say, or at least I've always experienced, you don't get what you want, you get what you need.
Amen. You can say, look, it's important to have setting and some preparation, set some intentions, but those plants are they're going to take what's already here and they're going to go where they need to go, where you need to go. It's funny, the last journey I had most recently, took me back to our experience with DMT, with the UFO Avarius frog, right? And I caught myself in there. I saw some of the same images, some of the same sacred art, and I caught myself doing those breathing exercises again too. I was like, oh yeah, and it was the most beautiful memory. Man, when I was coming out of that experience, and it was rough, and you guys were just there in that presence and that masculinity and that love, man. Damn, that was amazing. And I love the fact that because it's here, I can go back to it anytime I need it consciously. But sometimes other plants are going to bring that back out to you, man. And it was glorious.
Describe the, oftentimes referred to as 5 or DMT or 5-MeO DMT. Describe that experience. It's a very different, just the whole process and the experience of it, maybe not certainly your perspective, but, in comparison to the other medicines you've done.
That's one I won't go back to anytime soon. Because it was intense. And it's funny. It started out, I didn't know if I was going to do it, right? We had that opportunity in our last retreat, and, there's part of me I'm like, I don't know if I want to go there. It's called the God molecule. We know it's intense, but brief. And when I was in my psilocybin journey, God was like, hey man, you think this is cool? I got something to show you tonight. And that was something inside of me saying, and literally, I'll never forget that moment. Here I am staring at the mountains and the yellow aspens, and he's like, you need to do that. I'm like, all right. And so I got ready. I wasn't going to go first. Some of our brothers went first, and they did the whole handshake, hug, full embrace, right? The 3-step process. We do a little, and then your guide gives you a little bit more, and then he gives you kind of what's considered a full dose. And those bros came out of it, both and went through the 3, and they're like, it's kind of all right. I'm like, I'm ready, man. Let's go. It doesn't look so bad. And our guide prepared it, and he started preparing. He's like, wait, I'm not liking how this is going. I was like, oh no. And so he took a little bit himself and kind of checked, and you could see him doing that beautiful mind John Nash stuff, right? He's thinking, he's calculating in his brain, and he goes back and he does something to the mixture and changed it a bit. He goes, yeah, I think this will be better. And so I took my first draw and kind of just laid back, and it was beautiful. It was peaceful. It was glorious. And 4-5 minutes maybe, kind of came back up. I'm like, yeah, I'm ready to talk to God again. Let's go. And he mixed up a new one, and bro, wow. First of all, something inside me always has to kind of do it right and do it well. So that's some work I need to do, right? And I was going to be the best DMT user that had ever used DMT in that moment. So I took the biggest damn inhale I could and kept going and filled up my lungs like I was meditating. Oh, dude. And I let that out and I fell back. It was rough. I saw a lot of, and I tried to draw what I saw, but it was squares and circles, black and white. And I felt my heart start to speed up. And it felt like it was bursting out of my chest. I swear my heart rate was 190, 200. Now later I checked my watch, it never got above 99 or something like that. But it felt like it.
Were you scared? Were you scared that you were physically
terrified.
In harm's way?
I was terrified. I was in there. It was showing me all of my fears, all of my worries. It was showing me I was, dude. And then somewhere all my training, all my experience kicked in. It's like, hey man, it's not going to last long. Embrace it. Go with it as we instruct other people to do. Go with the medicine and see where it takes you. And I started doing some real. You can bring me to tears, man, but that's how much I love this experience now. I had some great conversations with some of our guys in between psilocybin and DMT, and they put some things in my head that I needed to deal with, talking about conscious parenting and how I may have missed that in life. My relationship with my father as it was now. And I started doing some huge, you were there, you heard it, monstrous deep breathing and settling my body down, but also embracing where I was going. And I was reminded how much I need to be loved, how much I give day to day. That's my job, but I'm also a husband, a father, a member of a community, and I give and give and give. But sometimes I'm too invulnerable to receive. And as I was there, I felt you guys, all of you. And I remember where everybody was. And I can picture it right now. And it felt so, I've never felt so accepted and loved and held as I did in that moment. By men, especially by men, that was important. I needed that masculine love. And I continued my deep breathing, and as I came to, as it kind of wore off, I just kind of sat up and I looked around, and it felt so good to be around you guys, man, to have you guys there. And I recognized how much I miss that and how much I need that in my life. That's what we all, I believe, that's what we all need. Thank you for bringing
so
that
beautiful.
back, man. That felt so good. That felt so good in this moment. It felt so good then.
Well, I would argue that that's the guy in the glass. It's not just a poem, and it's not a literal going to the mirror. It's, can you strip away the things that keep you from seeing your true self? And no, there are many ways to get there. I think plant medicine is a great way to get there. And you're living proof just watching this podcast, right? Going from our traditional, typical, joking and, back and forth and questions and answers like we all do as men and as human beings, which is necessary. I mean, you just have to live this 3D conscious world. You got to live in the real world. But if you're committed to this, and like with plant medicine, you go through this process, trust the journey. It takes you deeper and deeper and deeper into this place of realness and rawness. And you just embodied that over the course of the past 40 minutes.
Well, everybody needs a brother like you, right? They can't all have you, right? Because you're mine and the rest of our guys. But yeah, we all need that, man. And we know, as what we do day to day helping people, we know how much men are suffering and how invulnerable we try to be and what that does to us. It kills us, slowly or quickly. It was killing me. It was almost, I think about when you called bullshit last year and dragged me back kicking and screaming to men's peer groups. And there's a little, I'm a little bit ashamed sometimes that I almost missed some of these experiences. I can look, there's maybe some work I need to do looking in the mirror and remember that vulnerability is a good thing. When you find the right people and you cultivate these relationships that we have, it's important. Gotta let it out. Can't go through life. Can't go through the second part of life doing what we did in the first part.
But you can. You're just going to get the same results, right? And for many of us, we want a different set of results in the second half. And nothing wrong with the first half and the first results. It served its purpose, But there's so much more. And I think it's such the privilege of a lifetime to be given the gift of life to grow old. And to, go through this process, I call it descending up. The body, physicality, material descends. It just does until you're returned to the earth. But if you're committed to this inner work, it's an ascent, right? Your body's descending, but your spirit is ascending. And you just described many, many ways, not the only ways, but many ways we can really find that ascent. So thank you.
Thank you, man. I love that. Descending up, huh? That's, did you come up with that your own? That's pretty groovy, man. I'm going to hold on to that for a while. I love that.
It's the name of my, not next book, but the third book. So you can use it. You just can't write a book named.
We have a trilogy. I'm excited about that.
The next one, you have two more forwards to write. So I want you to, outdo yourself, which is going to be hard.
Then we're going to have to spend some more time together, brother. I guess,
Well, along those lines, let's get a journey planned where we can bring men listening to this podcast to Colorado where it's legal, and take them on a journey of, their own journey, but a journey of the plant or these plants. And let's commit to that.
I'm in, you and I, and whoever else wants to join. And then after that, as I just shared with our men yesterday, let's do Costa Rica, right? Because Colorado's beautiful. I do love me some mountains and some aspen trees. Let's try the beach and the ocean and see what that's like. I'm going to go check out a retreat center here in a couple weeks. And then, we'll start putting some retreats on in Costa Rica. So let's take our guys over there and anybody else that wants to join as well.
Because Costa Rica, ayahuasca is legal, correct?
Ayahuasca, yes, because it's in an indigenous part of the culture, it is completely legal. They have ayahuasqueros and ayahuasqueras there that will gladly take you on a journey. And now they have pulled back on psilocybin for some reason, or at least this retreat center has. But they said it should be back to okay in a couple weeks here too. So there's
awesome.
Something wonderfully beautiful about indigenous plant medicines. And yeah, definitely I'm not sure I'm ready for Mama Aya yet, but maybe one of these days.
Well, good stuff. We're going to do more podcasts on all these topics. And I know for certain our work is just beginning together. So thank you for letting me into your world personally and professionally.
Thank you for dragging that out of me once again and calling bullshit when I need it. I was totally prepared, B, to answer the question, why haven't you killed yourself yet? So maybe someday we'll get to that point.
Well, I think you're way upstream from it so that a guy like you will never have to get there because he's doing the work, finding, discovering, living his why, which is what this is all about. If, roughly 3 men will have killed themselves by the end of our podcast. That's the statistic every 13 minutes. And so hopefully the men listening to this will find inspiration from your words, your example, and make it their own. And that's my only wish and purpose in this world. Let's defy that number. Let's push it back at least to 14 minutes. That means 2,888 men will choose life this year. And that's what this podcast and that's what our work is all about. Thank you, brother Dan.
Thank you, brother. Always a pleasure. I love you, man. Thanks for all the work you're doing, and thanks for the opportunity to be a part of it.
Love you too.